All right. We are back for yet another adventure here with Political Battleground with Nesto. We're going to give this a try. I'm trying to do all these cool little intros and fade-ins and stuff. Let's see how it works out. We're going to do a little bit of a weekly wrap-up today. I know I haven't been making a lot of content lately. There's just been a lot going on. Obviously, a lot going on in the political world and in the news world and all that. And we're going to get to some of that as soon as we can. But until then, welcome to another episode. And let's see how it works. And there we go. Hopefully you guys actually got to hear the little jingle and all that. Like I said before, I'm still figuring out this program. So what are the major things that have been going on for the last few weeks that I've kind of been off and on and whatnot? Probably some of the more important things of what we're gonna cover. We got Trump being nominated for the second time for the Nobel Peace Prize. We have people claiming that Antifa still has a 0 body count, which is laughable. Let's see, I got my notes here. We also have, CUTIES. Yay. We get to look at that. And then I'm going to leave you guys with not really a homework assignment, but just something that you guys can look into because it's kind of funny. You guys have heard the whole idea of get woke, go broke. How about get so woke that you do something racist? That'll be something that I'll tell you guys about here in a little bit. But first, let's start with Trump being nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize. All right, so I got a lot of people that are very, very upset. They just can't believe that here is a man, orange man bad. Why in the heck is this guy getting even the time of day? Well, let's ask ourselves something. What did Obama do? And I know, Obama, I'm not bringing him up other than for the fact that this is an actual relatable case where you could do a very good contrast and comparison, okay? Obama, junior senator, voted president most of the time, really didn't enact a lot of policies or anything like that, gets elected president. For the simple fact that he was elected president, he receives a Nobel Peace Prize, okay? Arguably, probably one of in a series of presidents that were very, very much all about war. Obama did not curtail the wars we were in. He actually expanded them with drone strikes, things of that nature. But he was not the peaceful kind of guy. Now you interject Trump. I get it. He's a little hard to like. I get it. Okay? I sometimes even just look at myself and go, good Lord, can this man keep his mouth shut once? And no. The answer is no. Okay? He is a political figure. He likes to be the center of attention, and he is going to get that. Okay? He's going to say, whatever he needs to say to get somebody to react to what he is saying, I guess. But, one of the things that you have to look at is who are the people that are recommending him for this great honor? Is it one of his sycophants? Is it a Republican? Is it even an American? And the answer is no. The very first time that he was nominated, I believe, was by a Norwegian parliamentary member. Okay? I can't remember what the citation was at this point. I'm sorry about that. I should have had it in my notes, but I slipped up on that one. But let's get to the more recent one. This time it was a Swedish member of parliament that nominated Trump and the governments of Bosnia and Herzegovina for the Peace Prize for being able to come to this new peace accord and whatnot and end strife and whatever. I cannot imagine that he will also not be nominated for the Peace Prize based on, pardon me, I spit a little bit, based upon his work in getting the UAE and Bahrain to normalize relations with Israel. For those of you that don't understand what that's about, it used to be, and in fact, the Israelis have a really kind of cool workaround for this, but if you ever visited Israel and they stamped your passport, if you then tried to go to another country in the Middle East, they would not allow you access because you had been to Israel and there's all this, obviously animosity towards one another, plus they don't trust one another. You know, a lot of times they'd be like, we don't know if you're part of the Mossad, what were you doing in Israel, blah, 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 blah. So what Israel did is they would just give you a stamped little piece of paper that would go inside of your passport, and while you were in Israel, if anybody stopped you and wanted to look at your papers, they would see that you had a sheet of paper stamp that you actually did come in through customs, you have a visa for however long they give you for that, and whatnot, okay? So to have these two countries in the Middle East normalize relations, which means that they now accept Israel as a nation, as a place that exists with all the government and, you know, Geneva Conventions and all that kind of good stuff, all of these policies and documents and edicts from the United Nations and whatnot, now Israel falls under that purview for Bahrain and UAE. That's nothing short of a miracle. If you think about it, when was the last time that we had a country that said, hey, let's sign a peace treaty, let's recognize these people? Well, not so much a peace treaty, but basically normalizing relations to the point where they will allow people to travel through and they recognize it as a sovereign nation. Now, one of the things that I really do find kind of funny is that when we talk about the socioeconomical structure of our country and how we can better it, one of the biggest things that we hear from our friends on the left is that we need to look to the Nordic countries because their societies and their economies are ideal. Okay, for a little while, people even went so far as to claim that they were communist or at least socialist, and they've been able to dissuade people of that. Okay, but my question is, if liberals who are losing their minds over President Trump being even nominated for this award, if they think that, you know, the Nordic countries are such an example and they are the, you know, epitome of enlightened thinking and society, why are you so mad that they like Trump? If they are that, you know, end all be all, you should like him. You should be like, wow, well, maybe we're wrong about Trump. If these such powerful thinkers, if these, you know, wonderful people that have constructed a socioeconomic system that benefits everybody, why would you then say not only we don't like that you like Trump, but then go so far as to say that we should cancel the Nobel Peace Prize from now on because Trump has been nominated for it twice? If that's not the biggest epitome, I mean, just the greatest example of Orange Man bad, I don't know what to tell you. I really don't. I mean, this man has been recognized. No, I get it. Again, don't get me wrong. He's a petulant child. He can never be wrong. He's never made a bad move in his life. I get it. I don't care about that, though. What I care about is, are his policies in the best interests of the United States and her allies? And I believe they are. We can disagree on that, that's fine. But when you come at him with these ridiculous complaints and accusations, or you start to try to tear down, you know, world-renowned organizations and awards because somebody that you didn't like is getting that award, or I should say is being nominated for the award, hasn't even won it yet. But just the fact that they nominated him was enough to make you guys go crazy. Maybe you should look into your own minds and see just how much of the Kool-Aid you are actually drinking. What is it about you that cannot just take a step back and say, I might have this wrong? Or at least say, yeah, the dude's a jerk, but he got this one right. This is something that merits recognition. No, instead you want to post a bunch of stuff with, you know, Dr. Nobel's face scratched off and then saying that, that we should be canceling the Nobel Prize. You guys are ridiculous. All right. Next subject. The Bobbies of the world out there would have you believe that Antifa has a 0 body count. Now, one of the things that really blows my mind about this is that you don't really have to look very long, very hard. Oh, pardon me. Just had some lunch and the burpees are happening. We had a rash of attacks on police in 2017. 5 police officers were killed. Okay. And they were attacked by Antifa. Okay. You had all sorts of crap going on. So that right there belies the 0 body count. Okay. We have, look it up. 2017 attacks on police officers by Antifa. You'll find all sorts of them. Okay. One guy in particular went out specifically to shoot not only cops, but white cops. Okay? So, give me a break. That's very fascist, just to let you know. Alright? Then you have a more recent event. This recent event is the 100% Antifa killer that went looking for, found, and then murdered execution style a Patriot Prayer Trump supporter. And we've all seen the video. If you haven't, maybe you should, so you can see that quite literally, hey, we have one here, we have a couple here, what, right here, pull it here, bang, bang, dude's dead. Okay, not okay. That really is not okay. Now you have the riots. I know that a lot of people will say, well, the riots were BLM and they got taken over by protesters. Okay, well, by rioters, white rioters. Okay, who do you think those white rioters were? They were Antifa. Okay, now Antifa has another body count. They have the body count of all the buildings they burned down. Okay, one of which had a dead body. Later on was found that somebody had been inside of the building that was firebombed, and they died in a horrible way. I can only hope that they asphyxiated on the smoke before they were burned alive. That's a more merciful way to go. But the body was found months later when people went in to clean up and, the destruction. The fact that people can look you straight in the face and tell you that they do not believe that Antifa has been responsible for anything lets you know just how far people are willing to bury their heads in the sand. Because there is no way on God's green earth that you could have been watching the news, that you could have been remotely on social media and not know that Antifa has a body count. BLM has a body count. Now that they've combined forces and all these riots have been going on for over 100 days, especially in places like Portland and Washington, Kenosha, Minneapolis, all these different places, right? And then, of course, all the other ones that are going on elsewhere that we don't hear about because of the destruction no longer merits reporting. People are climbing on top of cars. They're climbing on top of people's homes. You have BLM supporters harassing innocent people that are just trying to have lunch. They're walking up, drinking their beers, and then breaking the glasses. I mean, you cannot say that these people don't have a body count. Bobby, you're full of it, okay? Just to let you know. And now, the fact is that we keep treating these incidents as though they are isolated. The argument always comes to, well, Antifa's not a real group. It's just a name that a bunch of different little, people go under like a large umbrella and blah, 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 blah. Okay? Well, no, that is not true. There is organization, between the chapters. There is organization on where they're going to go. Okay? Very simply, all you have to look at is the White House, not the White House rush. What do they call it? Anyway, they're going to go and basically occupy the White House. from, I think it's this next week, until the election. And they're just going to pop out there, and there's going to be Antifa from all over the country that's going to, try to get there and make as much of a ruckus as possible. So you can't sit there and say that that's not the truth. Okay, the other thing that this does is that you have to look at the violent history, the organization, and then we get to the latest. Okay, Antifa is now being tied into these fires happening in Oregon and Washington. Multiple videos have been posted on social media of people being stopped on the freeway by police officers, telling them they need to stop where they're at because there's a fire happening and they're in the middle of apprehending an arsonist. And you can see the person taking the videotape is explaining the situation. They pan out and you see people being taken away in cuffs. Okay, the police are saying this. There's videos of firefighters that are fighting these fires, telling you, look, we know that these fires are being set by arsonists. We know that they're Molotov cocktailing these things. Other devices have been found. I've got to give them credit. I mean, they are really, really thinking outside of the box when they're creating these things. But not only do we have people being arrested on the sides of freeways and in the mountain passes and whatnot, setting fires, but they're now going into neighborhoods. And one of the things that was going on, if you look, I can't remember, something Heights, Boyle Heights, I want to say, but I think that's in LA and my mind's just getting confused. But there is or Beacon Heights or something of that nature, and I want to say it's in Portland, where in that area alone, there has been over 10 fires set deliberately in the last 6 months. And one of them was people tried to light an apartment. This person tried to light an apartment building on fire. This was a serial arsonist that they were after. Okay, so it's not like this has not been happening around regular neighborhoods. But one of the things that they're doing right now, which again, like I said, I got to give them credit for being ingenious about this, but it's also dastardly bad. People are throwing plastic bottles that they have fitted with magnifying devices into people's yards. And they're small. I mean, they're not big. It's not like you're going to walk out and immediately see this bottle, probably. But the bottle lays in the bushes or wherever it was thrown, and when the sun's out, if the sun hits it in the right way, it could start a fire. Now, if they're throwing them in residential yards, they are looking to burn down people's houses. That is not acceptable. I don't care. No, we're not doing that, okay? I mean, in Portland, you have people that just got caught behind a hotel placing batteries and a blanket that was lit on fire already around the gas main at the back of the hotel. A woman witnessed it. She had pictures of it, called 911. The fire department got there, blah, blah, blah. They ended up, I believe, apprehending this guy, and he's being questioned and whatnot. But a hotel, guys. There is nothing there. There's nothing in that plan that is not about death and destruction. Okay? Mayhem. That is going to kill people. The batteries obviously would explode. I believe they were trying to add to the carnage and add to the fuel and add to the ignition possibilities for this thing. But that is calculated. That is obviously planned. And that was, I don't know why they picked that hotel, but they picked it. It'd be interesting to find out who stays at that hotel, who owns that hotel, or if they've, obviously espoused any political affiliation in the past, because that would be rather interesting. So, you have that, and then you have, in Washington State, you have a BLM supporter that was arrested on suspicion of arson after it was reported that he was seen going down the road, basically the median on this kind of rural part of a highway, and was lighting the median on fire. When the police arrived, he was videotaping everything and basically gave the story that no, He had nothing to do with this. That he even pointed to a post that he had on Facebook the day before saying, hey, I lost my camera case between this mile point and this mile point on the highway. I'm going to go look for it. I have to find it. It's a very expensive camera. I believe it was a camera inside the case too. So when the police gets there, he's telling them, no. See, look, I'm looking for this thing. I just happened to see fire happening, and I called 911. I don't know what you're talking about. And in fact, he had. They come to find out he had called 911. But then this other call had come out and said, no, I saw this guy lighting things with his lighter. So he's under arrest now. He is very well known. Let me make sure I got my notes here. Let's see. Portland, Washington State. He is a known BLM supporter. He's a white dude, but a known BLM supporter. These guys, they've been able to identify them at other events. He's been at defund the police events. He's been at BLM marches. He has been identified, as part of this riotous mass that's going around. But come on, guys. They're burning down places. They're trying to blow up buildings. Okay. Now, one of the really weird opinions I've heard about this whole thing, and it really does kind of boggle my imagination, is that people are trying to tie this to climate change. They say, oh my gosh, look at all the fires. This is climate change. Now, I don't know if you guys can tell behind me. I mean, today's actually not that bad. But I'm in Arizona, and in the mornings, I can look directly at the sun because there is so much smoke and ash on the horizon that it's just a big copper disc that does not hurt the eyeballs in the least. Okay? Yesterday, the air quality here sucked. Eyes were burning. I was out doing some work, and the eyes were burning, and the lungs were burning, and it kind of sucked, okay? Pardon me, so you can see. But one of the big things is that you have to look to what the real causes are, okay? There's a number of things that everybody is forgetting because nobody talks about it enough, but there's logical reasons as to why we're having a shit-tabulous fire season right now. One, in an effort of conservation and of both economy and the forest, a lot of the Pacific Northwest and California stopped clearing the dead brush and dead trees from forests, basically leaving kindling all over the place. Okay? One of the things that I found, it makes perfect logical sense when you think about everything that you were taught as a kid about this, these, evergreen forests and whatnot, that they require fire in order to propagate. Okay? We know this. We've heard about it. If you've never heard about it, look it up. Because natural fire that runs through the hills and stuff is one of the ways that some of these conifer trees propagate themselves. The pine cones need that so they can pop. Things like that. Okay? So what would sound counterintuitive, but if you think about it, it's necessary. When natural wildfires occur, we have been overly aggressive in putting them out. Sounds stupid, doesn't it? Oh my gosh, the forest could burn down houses. Look how many houses have burned down. We need to nip this in the bud. Well, the truth is that some of these smaller fires that start from lightning strikes, or maybe even done by accident, by human intervention. I'm not talking about like the back burns or the controlled burns that are done. I'm talking about, oops, my fire got out of control. Okay, even then, it could be beneficial for fire departments to not so aggressively attack them, but maybe to contain them. Let that area, as long as no homes or people are in danger, perhaps let that burn and let those small natural fires, even some of the unnatural ones, burn in the way that they're supposed to. Okay? Third, and a lot of you guys probably aren't really hip to this stuff, but it made an impact on me when I went when I was living in Peru back in the early 80s, that we had this phenomenon down there called El Nino. Perhaps you guys have heard of this thing, which is this atmospheric and oceanic pressure system that comes in and basically changes the way that certain, like the jet stream and whatnot, certain airflows, it changes their paths, okay? Well, there was a corresponding one called La Nina, okay? La Nina normally happens, a little bit northern in the Pacific. It can also happen down south. But for the most part, what happens is this pushes the jet stream that brings all the moisture into the Pacific Northwest, California, and parts of Arizona are included in this. It pushes it far north. So what ends up happening is that instead of it coming down like this, it goes up, around us, and goes. What does that mean? It means that the Pacific Northwest and California are in an especially dry season. We are not getting California and the Pacific Northwest are not getting the normal amount of rain and humidity that they normally would, that also would help keep some of these fires under control. With all of these factors brought in together, okay, you also are forgetting the most important one. We're catching arsonists, assholes! They're burning crap! I mean, come on! It must be climate change because the arsonist is lighting fires. You guys are idiots. Okay, if you honestly believe that, you're idiots. Now, you can say whatever you want to, I'm not going to be splicing in any videos and stuff today because we have so many things to hit, and this would turn into like a 3-hour-long thing, and I'm sorry, I just don't have that amount of time. But the idea being that, come on, think it through. Think it through, guys, all right? You can, Occam's razor, anybody heard of that? What is the simplest excuse is usually the right one. So we know, okay, we have Antifa, who likes violence. Antifa, who said that we need to burn it down. They chant it at their rallies. We know they're violent, okay? I said that already. But we know that they like to destroy things. Now they're burning crap down. Does it surprise anybody? Really? I mean, no. I mean, they were throwing Molotov cocktails and exploding commercial-grade fireworks at police officers. They cemented a door shut at a courthouse and then tried to set fire to the building. Okay? It's one of these things where if you don't really pay attention and connect the dots, you're like, oh, well, they're not bad people. No, they really are. There's thousands, I think it's 14,000 arrests so far. Over 400 police officers injured, almost $1 billion worth of damage done, in over 100 days of protesting. If you really don't think that they're connected, if you really don't think that Antifa is a domestic terrorist group that needs to be met with the appropriate amount of force, be it legal force, which I would bend to, okay, let the police handle this crap, or the National Guard, okay, or the citizenry is already beginning to stand up. Look at the Kyle Rittenhouse, example. There isn't really a person that isn't a dead-set leftist on this planet that is looking at that and saying that he did not act in self-defense. You can argue about whether he should have been there or not, and that really doesn't matter to me, okay? I think he had every right to be there. He works in that town. He spends a lot of time there. He was asked to defend that property. He was not only cleaning up the city of graffiti, he was rendering first aid to protesters and rioters, because there is a difference, guys. I do get that, all right? But he was doing everything right until they attacked him. And then he went on to do even more right things. And I don't necessarily mean the killing, okay? What I mean is the way that he acted. The way that he identified his targets, the way that he let those that were not trying to harm him walk away, the way that he kept trying to get back to the police, the way that he immediately communicated contact with the enemy. I just killed somebody, okay, on the phone, whether he was talking to a friend. I personally believe, and I will have to, again, I'll read the stuff. I'm sure he's probably already said this to his lawyer. I believe that he was already trying to call the police or trying to let somebody know, dude, I'm going to need some police intervention or whatnot, or looking for guidance. What do I do now? But the fact that he went straight to the police even after getting hit on the, getting knocked he trips, gets knocked upside the head, only engages the aggressors. One guy's backing up with his hands up. He looks at him, gets up, and runs back towards his buddies. So that's what I mean by doing the correct thing. I think he did the necessary thing when he killed the pedophile, the white supremacist dude, the rapist, all those guys, okay? They got what they deserved. They attacked an innocent dude. He fought back. They lost the fight. All right, so you have all these things going on, but yet you want to try to blame Trump. You're an idiot, Bobby. All right, now to the next one. And this one we've talked about just a little bit before. And, sorry, I was getting bit by an ant. But there's a little bit more to it now, okay? I've come out, and everybody who's keeps up with me at, on Facebook and whatnot, at Political Battlegrounds on Facebook, and I'll be sharing this all over the internet from time to time, so you'll see them on other pages as well. But I've already addressed this in the sense that I don't care what really the director's vision was for this movie. The fact that 11-year-olds are twerking and doing all this crazy crap was enough for me to say this movie is dumb. Should never have been made, or at the very least, it should have been made differently. So here's my take, okay? The movie ends up really kind of being a way of trashing Hollywood and the society, okay? Because basically the movie, while, I just think it's really funny, okay? I got to hit on this because it's true. When Netflix first started advertising this movie and they had their very controversial poster with the girls in their, dance costumes, all, doing these sexualized poses and whatnot, they were trying to sell this as a story of a girl who starts understanding her own sexuality. It was a coming-of-age movie, and she's discovering how, what being a sexual woman is all about and whatnot. So they tried to cage it as this, I don't know if any of you guys have seen the movie. It's called Man in the Moon. That, to me, would be probably a more appropriate coming-of-age movie. It deals with a lot of things that this movie deals with, but with very different visuals and situations. So, to contrast, Man in the Moon is about a young girl, I believe, in the 60s. She's growing up in the rural South, and she finds her first crush, this older boy that lives next door. The older boy seems interested in her. Then he meets the older sister. Well, of course, the older sister and this boy end up, becoming a boyfriend and girlfriend, basically, and whatnot, breaking the heart of this young girl who has to learn about life this way. Well, a tragedy strikes. The young boy dies, and these two sisters that hated each other and are trying to discover their own womanhood, and through pain and anguish on the backdrop of the 1960s and everything that's going on then, it's a little bit more wholesome. Yes, there is sex is involved. Yes, there is, but it's like I said, this is more of a real coming of age that most of us would understand and could in some way at the very least empathize with, sympathize with, or identify with, whichever one of those you want to go with. All right. Instead, what we get from Cuties is basically a coming of age gone wrong. Totally wrong. Where this young girl who was brought up in Paris by a very conservative and strict Muslim family is trying to find herself, but the parents are unavailable. The father's away. He's getting a second wife. And he's bringing the second wife back to Paris to be with his family. The mother is busy doing her things, trying to deal with this whole second wife scenario. So the daughter is left on her own to discover her adulthood and about society through basically YouTube and the internet. Okay? Which you and I, we all know that that's probably not the best way. So she starts seeing that all these women that are being, that are very sexual and, very promiscuous looking on videos and on TV and movies are getting all these accolades. So she decides that maybe that is how it is to be a woman. This is, she's not getting this information from her mother, so this is what it is. She falls in with a group of girls that are of similar age that have the same issue going on, unavailable parents, but the internet's always there. They watch certain, I don't believe it's, I don't think they watched porn, but there's a scene where there's a 16, 17-year-old showing her breasts online, and she's got, a whole bunch of likes on the picture. And so these little girls again are like, wow, that must be the way you be cool, you get people to like you and get with the cool crowd. So the movie has one redeeming quality to it, and that is that at the most horrible scene in the movie, and I use that term loosely because there's another scene that's pretty freaking bad, but at the end of the movie, the scene that everybody's seen that's gone viral on the internet, the dance scene where these girls are dancing and everybody in the crowd is cheering them on and woo, and they're getting more and more sexual and they're doing more and more aggressive gyrations, and the crowd is less and less enthusiastic, and they're kind of looking at them weird. And then at one point, our main character realizes what she's done, realizes that this is not the world for her, that she has definitely, done something to herself that she should not have, and she runs off stage crying. Then at, the next time that we basically see her, at the conclusion of the epilogue of the show is, she's decided not to accept her new stepmother. She's kind of still divorced herself from her mom, but now she's a lot more conservative. There's one of the telling shots is her putting on a sweater, buttoning it up all the way to the top, and now she has somehow, become a more normalized child from one extreme to the other. Now we're back in the middle. So there's a redeeming point. But to get to this redeeming point, this little girl steals one of her cousin's cell phone and then propositions a 20-year-old man as an 11-year-old for sex. I don't care. Okay? I really don't. You want to shock people? You don't need to have as many close-up shots of crotches and butts of 11-year-olds. You don't need to have, I got a list of some stuff that happens, okay? You got the main character doing that, but then you got, the 11-year-old, you got these awkward conversations that they're having. And, I get this. You can have this in any movie, even Stand By Me, okay, where they're talking about what they know about girls and how totally wrong it is, and we're all like, good Lord, but they're teenagers, they're talking about adult issues that they have no idea what they're talking about. And they have scenes like this in this movie, but it's taken to, I think, a little bit too much. Now, you may like the movie, you may think it does a powerful message. I think the message could have been done without, particularly a scene where they find a used condom in the forest. One of the little girls picks it up and blows it up like a balloon. We get it. They're naive about sex. You don't need to point it out. We all have known 11-year-olds. We've probably all been 11-year-olds. We know how awkward and how ignorant we were about our own bodies and sex and how it, works in relationships and in society. We didn't know crap. And, this movie could have been a really good movie, in other words. Instead, what you got was shock, 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 shock. Here's the reason why I did it. So, I don't think anybody should be, like, I don't think Netflix should be canceled. If you want to cancel your subscription to Netflix over one movie, that's up to you. I can understand they're getting a little bit weird. The poster was really, really off-putting. That by itself, again, I don't think they should be censored or anything like that. I don't have to watch it. I don't. I pay for Netflix. There's shows on there I want to watch. I don't watch the ones I don't want to watch. So there shouldn't be a big deal. One last thing before we go. Okay, and then I'm going to leave you with that little homework assignment, so to say. Yesterday was 9/11. We all know, those of us that were alive during the time, those of us that were adults already, that witnessed this horrible, horrible event and the aftermath and saw how united the United States became and how we were one solid country again after 9/11. We can see now just how far we have fallen from that time. We would go out of our way to find reasons to be united. We would unite behind firefighters. We would unite behind the police. We united behind our military and our veterans. We united behind our American companies. We united around our neighborhoods, our neighbors, everybody. I remember this. It didn't matter where you were. You would walk by somebody and you would say hello, and they would respond back, and you were again proud to be an American. And you know what? Those of you that are that are 19 or younger, or maybe even were just too young at the time to realize what was going on. You saw, all you did, you were 4 or 5, years old, whatever. All you saw was how the adults changed, and you didn't quite understand what it was about. I get it. Kind of the way that most of us feel, most of the rest of this generation don't get as choked up about Pearl Harbor. Okay? We understand the devastation that happened. We know it was a monumental moment in U.S. history. For me, having served in Hawaii and gone to many a re-enlistment ceremony at the USS Arizona Memorial, it is a little bit more for me. Maybe other veterans feel the same way. Maybe even you don't even have to be a veteran and you feel the same way. But 9/11, especially for those of us that were in uniform at the time, was a gut punch. I remember that I was so frustrated and so angry that I was a member of the military, sworn to protect this country and its citizens, and we let this attack happen. It hit me so hard. It still gets me, But then you have assholes, and I'm not going to pull any punches. You guys are fucking assholes, okay? That started tweeting yesterday, "All buildings matter." You're right. All buildings do matter. So why the fuck are you burning down buildings with people inside of them? Why are you trying to seal people in buildings and then burn it down if all buildings matter? Now, obviously, we all know that that's just a play on the All Lives Matter, and they're just trying to be absolute dickheads about it. But there is one thing that you guys didn't think of. You're burning down America now. If you want to draw the parallel between yourselves and the terrorists that took down the Twin Towers 19 years ago, that's on you. The country mobilized after that. We saw the largest volunteer service in decades. People coming out of retirement I personally served with men that were majors and colonels, had retired and resigned their commissions, come back in as buck sergeants just so they could serve again. Don't make yourselves the enemies of the people that love this country. Black lives do matter. Latino lives matter. Asian, either Far East or Western, they matter too. African lives matter. Okay? European lives matter. Native American lives matter. And the list goes on and on and on. I would never sit idly by to let anyone else on this planet be harmed if they were innocent. It's just not in. It's not in me. It's not in me. I see somebody who's completely innocent getting beat, getting whatever. I say something. I may get my ass beat if there's more than one person. Doesn't matter. I'm not gonna let. I don't like that. Enough of that. But the point being that you might as well have said all boats matter on Pearl Harbor Day. Okay? I mean, we lost the Pacific Fleet there. How many hundreds or thousands of Americans died on that day? How many thousands died on 9/11? And you guys are going to make a joke about it? Just don't. It's not smart. But anyway, guys, so not to leave everything on, such a somber note, I got a little homework assignment for you. So, we've all heard the get woke, go broke, right? All these companies that are now doing themselves out of money because they're trying to show how woke they are. People are no longer either patronizing those establishments, or they've seen their numbers, their profit margins go down, whatever it may be. There is a university out there that you can find out who they are, that became so woke, that they created a whites-only cafe. Go find out who it is. You guys have yourselves a wonderful weekend and enjoy the rest of it. And you know what, guys? Have a great day.